I'm Larry Fedoruk, and welcome to a new episode of my podcast. I was 8. Childhood stories from that remarkable year growing up on the Great Canadian Prairie. Timelines curve and intersect a little, but these stories mostly happened as told. I was 8.
Chapter 8, Kids' Bids.
I'm not sure how much time actually passed in my kids' bids phase. Could have been a school year, could have been just a summer, but part of my memory says it was like most of my entire childhood. All I wanted to do was to get on Kids' Bids. Kids' Bids was a television show out of the nearby city of Prince Albert. I learned later that many cities and towns had a Kids' Bids show, but it wasn't a network show. Each Kids' Bids show was run by the local TV station out of that market, ours out of Prince Albert. But as far as I knew at the time, it was the only Kids' Bids show in the world. Kids' Bids was a bit of genius, actually. It was sponsored by Old Dutch, makers of the best potato chips on the planet.
Old Dutch. The crispy snack for any time. The crunchy treat for any age.
Old Dutch potato chips.
Old Dutch crispy chips.
Crispy, crunchy, white and snappy. Old Dutch potato chips.
They made other salty snacks, but the potato chips, well, as a kid, if you got a bag of chips, it had to be Old Dutch. And not to be confused with Old Dutch cleanser or scouring powder. Not as tasty a snack indeed.
Old Dutch potato chips are the tastiest treat that ever turned on a party, a snack tray, or a main course. Pick your favorite: Old Dutch onion and garlic, Old Dutch barbecue, Old Dutch plain, or Old Dutch salt and simulated vinegar. Now available in large economy sizes. Pick a flavor, but be sure you pick the package with the windmill. Old Dutch potato chips, crispy, crunchy, everybody's flavor favorite.
Unique to Old Dutch potato chips was that they not only came in bags, but also boxes. The boxes were family packs, double, triple, or party size, and inside were 2 or 3 unmarked bags of potato chips. Tell you, if a big box of Old Dutch chips suddenly appeared on the pantry shelf, that meant good times ahead in the house. Company was coming, and little Larry would be in snack heaven, in the Old Dutch section. Old Dutch were only available in the Midwest, and they had such a hold on us kids of a generation that when we became adults, including myself, and we moved to other parts of the country, we would plead with our friends and family back home to mail us some Old Dutch chips, pre-Amazon and all. If visitors were coming from the Midwest, it was like, oh, it'll be great to see you. Yeah, can't wait, miss you. Yeah. But hey, by the way, can you bring some Old Dutch potato chips if you have room in your suitcase? If it wouldn't be too much trouble just to pack some chips. Yeah, that's how much we love the Old Dutch potato chips. Kids' Bids was probably one of the first loyalty programs before they even called them that. The idea was to save all of your old bags and box tops because each were worth points. I don't remember exactly the point designations, but I think it was pretty simple. Like a 10-cent bag might be worth 10 points, 25-cent bag, 25 points, a box top, 100 points, and so forth. Saturday afternoons, the Kids' Bid show would be on TV. It would open with a shot of the items up for grabs. It was like a wish list of kids stuff. Bicycles, scooters, toboggans, board games, toys, well, just about everything you ever dreamed of having and you asked Santa for every Christmas. It was right there in that one room, on TV. The host would welcome everyone and say, it's time for, and he would point to the audience, and the camera would cut to the audience. They'd be on TV, and they would yell out, Kids' Bids! The audience were kids like me, sitting in a bleacher with their bags and boxes of Old Dutch points. The first item came off the shelf, and the bidding began. Give me 2, I got 2, I got 2, 250, 250 over there, I got 250, give me 3. I can't do it, but they had a real auctioneer. And he would whip the kids up into a frenzy. Finally, sold! would echo out of the TV. Some kid would wander down, hand over the old bags and box tops, be interviewed by the host, and they'd receive their brand new train set or whatever. It was so exciting, and what a concept! Instead of throwing stuff in the garbage, you save it, and then you get free toys. I had to get on Kids Bids. I explained the concept to my parents and asked if they could buy me a few hundred bags of potato chips. They said no for some reason, but were okay with my idea of one day getting on Kids Bids. It was in Prince Albert. We often went to Prince Albert. It wasn't that far away, and sometimes we needed things in the city that you couldn't get in the town, city things. Plus, many of my dad's brothers and sisters lived in Prince Albert, PA as we called it, so a trip to Kids Bids one day was not out of the question. All I needed was the Old Dutch points. Now, I should mention that any of the toys on Kids Bids worth having would sell for thousands and thousands of points, often over 10,000. After 5 weeks of intense saving, I had 40 points. 4 old 10-cent bags. 40 frickin' points. They're not even going to let you in the studio with 40 frickin' points. How did those kids on TV do it? Did they live on potato chips? Did they know someone at the bag factory? Was their dad a garbage man? 40 frickin' points. I'd be 80 years old before I had enough points to get on Kids Bids. Would I still want a toboggan by then? Would I still want to play Parcheesi? My mom suggested a few things. The first one didn't work. Ask around school for other kids to bring their old bags. Failed. Guess what? They were trying to get on Kids Bids too. Secondly, ask your aunts and uncles to save their Old Dutch bags for me. Fail. Guess what? Most of them had kids. My cousins, who also wanted to be on Kids Bids. Finally, though, a glimmer of hope. My dad worked as a bartender. He was assistant manager and bartender of the local pub at the downtown hotel. They sold Old Dutch potato chips, consumed heartily with the beer and whiskey. Dad was instructed by Mom to collect the empty bags and instead of throwing them out, bring them home for me. Ah, that was the advantage I was looking for. First night of the plan, 10 bags. I went from 40 frickin' points to 140 just like that. At this rate, I'd have a new Kids Bids bike by summer. Second night, 2 bags. And then for about a week, Dad just forgot about it altogether. When reminded and scolded by Mom, he got back on the job, but then it was like 2 or 3 bags a night. Weeks went by, and I wasn't even up to 500 points. And I had to work for that point total. The bags Dad brought home were disgusting. Dad got home from work long after I'd gone to bed, so I would wake up early the next morning, like 2 hours before I had to get ready for school, and I'd go downstairs looking for the haul from the night before. I would find them first thing in the morning on the kitchen counter, coated in salt and oily chip film. Crumbs of chips still at the bottom, sometimes cigarette butts, and often they reeked of spilled and dried alcohol and beer. I mean, that wasn't like a bag you consumed on your own as a kid, where every last bit of chip was gone, and then you'd tear the bag open and lick the inside carefully until all the salty goodness was gone. Dad's bags had to be cleaned. I took to washing and wiping them. Picture it, still dark, early morning, I'm the only one up. Big basin of soapy water washing out old potato chip bags and then carefully hanging them with clothespins around my room so that they'd be dry by the time I got home from school that day and I could store them in my cardboard box vault under the bed. Well, that was me. I was 8. After a while, 2 to 3 bags a night dwindled to like 4 to 5 bags a week. I asked Dad about this, and guess what? The barflies, the woozy deadbeats, the sots, the alkies, the beer-swilling drunkards, they had kids. Kids that wanted to be on Kids Bids. I'm sure this scene played out in many homes. Daddy's home, yay, Daddy, what'd you bring me? Yeah, here, a couple of empty old Dutch chip bags. Yay, thanks, Daddy, you're the best, Daddy. Mommy, look what Daddy brought me. My dad told me that this one guy got up to use the men's room, so Dad cleaned up his table, grabbed the chip bags, emptied the ashtrays, and when the guy came back, he demanded to know where his empty chip bag was. My dad didn't tell him that he nabbed it for me, he just told him he threw it out. The guy got so mad, he told my dad to go in the trash and get it back, that he was saving it for his kid, and they almost got into a fist fight over it. Kids Bids had permeated every aspect of our society. Anyway, so having a dad that worked in a bar wasn't the Kids Bids advantage that I'd hoped it would be. Still, Dad dutifully brought home what he could. I didn't really expect him to get into fist fights over it. Well, secretly I wished he would, but he didn't. So I soldiered on my own. I asked for potato chips whenever I could, even when I really wanted chocolate or candy. Chocolate was great, but guess what? No points in chocolate. I didn't go through trash, well, not exactly, but for months I could not pass a wastebasket at school or anywhere without peering in and poking around. Occasionally I found a chip bag. I think I was up to almost 1,000 points at some time. Still mystified as to how those kids on TV did it. I noticed many of them did seem older, so maybe you had to save for a few years. Plus, Mom's reasoning was that maybe they came from big families where everyone saved up, and then when they got the G.I. Joe set, everyone in the family got to play with it. I suppose. And by the way, when am I getting a few little brothers? And how soon after they're born can they start having potato chips? Later, Mom showed me an article in our local paper about a kid named Barry, I think, who a few weeks ago bid on and got a brand new bike for almost 60,000 points. He said his name on TV and everything, and said hello to his parents and all his friends back home. When they took the elastic bands off all his bundles of bags and box tops, they found that there were old Dutch box tops on the top and bottom, and in the middle, a bunch of useless cardboard. Same trick with many of the bags. He had cheated and been caught. You know, I'm sure we all heard of the big quiz show scandal of the 50s, but let me tell you, the Kids Bids scandal was the talk of the school for weeks. And yeah, we talked about Kids Bids at school, and many of us began to realize that we were all in the same boat. We just couldn't collect enough points. No one knew how those kids on TV did it. Not even the teachers. One of our teachers suggested forming a team and pooling all of our points. Interesting idea, but we figured out it would take at least 20 of us to have a decent point total. And how would we share a new ball glove with 20 people? Plus, the girls didn't want a new ball glove, and none of us guys wanted the Barbie camper. Damn those stereotyped gender roles. They quashed our team spirit. I would love for the end of the story to be that I continued to save for many years and eventually went on Kids Bids. After that, I cruised around town on my brand new CCM 3-speed and was a local hero as the only kid from our town to ever be on TV. So that didn't happen. As I mentioned, Kids Bids was an early concept loyalty program. Let me tell you something about an 8-year-old's loyalty. It's iffy. Eventually, my interest in collecting potato chip bags waned. As much fun as it was getting up early and washing them out every morning, I lost interest. And we got a second channel on our TV. Oh yeah, imagine, 2 whole channels. That station ran Roy Rogers Westerns opposite Kids Bids, and I took to just watching those. My cardboard vault of valuable points, it got moved to the garage, and eventually, like many of my other childhood dreams, ended up in a landfill. I lost track of Kids Bids. Eventually, Old Dutch started putting these things called car wheels into each potato chip bag. They were plastic, about the size of a poker chip, came in different colors, and on one side there was a really nice picture of a car. Collect the complete set and order the handy car wheels holder by mailing $2 to Old Dutch. Guess what? For some reason, the drunken deadbeats had no interest in those. Dad brought home dozens of them every week. I had enough doubles to trade up at school, and I was the first kid in my town to get all 200. My parents ordered the handy holder, and I spent hours playing with those things. I wonder where those car wheels ended up. Oh yeah, landfill. I loved cars and anything to do with cars, still do. And I still love potato chips. Except today, a lot of people make a great potato chip, and Old Dutch, though now available everywhere, well, what's the point? So, to those days, this kid bids farewell.
I Was 8 is a weekly series written, produced, and voiced by Larry Fedoruk. A new episode every Thursday. Share your stories with Larry, or if you like, share Larry's stories with a friend. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Larry Fedoruk, that's Fedoruk, can be reached at larryfedoruk37@gmail.com.
Crispy, crunchy, white and